Hey, welcome back to the Hub channel. My name is Brandon, and we have an amazing show for you today. We're going to be going over the market and doing a little bit of a recap of what's happened over the last week here. It has been one of the craziest weeks that we've had in a long time, and if you've been paying attention, you've seen this. You've seen what's been going down. Obviously, we've had CPI data come out. We've had, the market's doing good. We've had Tesla take an absolute dump. We've had PayPal make hype announcements. Rob, get in here. You got to talk about this with me because with all this stuff going on, we've been watching the charts, we've been watching these companies, and Tesla, for example, oh my gosh, we've been watching that stock and it's been doing decent, but oh my gosh, did it take a dump this week? I cannot wait to hear your thoughts on what's happening and what you're looking at. Rob, how you doing? How you been? What are you seeing?
Good, Brandon. How are you? Happy Friday to you.
Yes.
So rather than looking at the charts first, you let us in on obviously one of the most talked about stocks. So let's just get right into Tesla and take a look at it. And yikes. I think we've talked about this in the past that Tesla needed to hold 240 way back up here. It didn't do that, and if it didn't hold 240, it was going to 220, and it didn't do that. And then the next step was 200, and then if it didn't hold 200, it was yikes. We're kind of in this no man's land here with a potential move down to 160. And that move yesterday obviously was on the earnings report. And, one of the things it talked about in last night's insiders meeting over on the LA Wave Options, evotrader.com, I was reading about how in China, and Elon actually talked about China being a very difficult market for Tesla right now, is the fact that all of the EVO providers in China, the developers, manufacturers, are all focusing on these really cool electronic doodad things. Like they're making cars with no dashboards, and all of the information is literally projected on the road in front of you. So they've been focusing more on all the gimmicky electronic stuff in their cars, but that's what the Chinese people like. And so some of these Chinese EV manufacturers are really taking a big chunk out of the Tesla market. And Elon actually referenced that. And there's so many people coming after Tesla. There's so much competition now. They got to cut prices. Another issue is the fact that the batteries are mostly manufactured in China. We don't manufacture these batteries for the electric cars in the U.S. So you can see there's some headwinds ahead for Tesla here. Now, the key is, can we hold in here? Do we have to come down and test this 160? I don't know where the upside catalyst comes from here on Tesla. Unless you have some pearls of wisdom, Brandon, I don't really see it. I think this is a rough place to be. The one positive is that we're oversold. And one of the rules that I talk about a lot is no security in any time frame. It gets very far away from the 10-day moving average. We're a bit oversold, but short of some sort of a bounce, maybe up to test resistance at 200. I don't know where the positive catalyst is. I know that's not going to be a very positive or well-received commentary from the viewers, but that's what I see.
Yeah, not positive, but accurate. And I'm with you on the 160 level in play 100%, because with what they just talked about on their earnings call, I don't see any reason for anybody to put a lot of Tesla in their portfolio right now. I think the people are going to be holding out for this to maybe hit that 160 level and wait for a bounce there. I mean, we might see a minor bounce just because, like you said, oversold beyond reason. I looked at the chart, I pulled this thing up, and I'm like, where does this chart stop? Like, where does the chart stop? You see that free fall action, very similar to what you saw with I don't know if you watched the PayPal announcement. They came out with some hype. They were going to shock the world with their new thing that's revolutionary they were going to come out with. And it turns out it was kind of a nothing burger. And PayPal took a little bit of a dump yesterday or a couple days ago, 5%, 6% dump right as soon as they came out with that news. So interesting scenario. And it's kind of the same story with Tesla, what we're seeing here, that I just don't know if they have a lot left in the pot. But here's the other thing I would say with Tesla. Don't count them out, because I still think they have a horse in this race as far as production and everything else that they're doing, they're in a phase where they're trying to liquidate cars and they're dumping the prices, and stockholders aren't happy, but I still think they can make a comeback here. So
Yeah, what do you think? Do you think the Cybertruck can bail them out? Because I know that's been some commentary on the Financial Network. Well, I mean, that's what people are saying. Is that there's
yeah,
so much competition everywhere, but the Cybertruck is so unique, and then and I don't know, but you're right. When you look
I
at the
don't know.
chart, yeah, this is. We used to talk about this, Brandon. I'm sure you familiar with it. Catching a falling knife. That's what it feels like with Tesla. Where is the bottom? I would be interested if Tesla did make it down to 160, because you just have to respect Elon's innovation, and perhaps he comes up with stuff. Now, the one thing they did say that China's lacking on is the self-driving part of it, which Tesla is ahead of them because China's just focusing on these electronic gadgets in the cars. So that part can be helpful to Tesla. And then you've got Elon, who's so innovative. But if you could see Tesla down at 160, I think you could take a shot there. But it literally, in the words of Ozzy Osbourne, is shot in the dark if you try to try something here. I did want to bring up PayPal, as you mentioned it, and the interesting thing is, this new innovation that you're talking about is AI based. And when's the last time you saw a stock that came out and said they're going to infuse, their algorithms or whatever with AI, and the stock goes down? Normally, all you have to do is say AI and it goes up. But then that happened to ServiceNow as well, when they were up after hours on their earnings and then said they're going to be moving into AI, and the stock reversed. So what's going on with all this AI thing, where it used to be all you had to do was say AI and the stock went higher? It seems like it's the exact opposite now. And so a little bit of a rebound today on PayPal from that move down yesterday, but yeah, they've got a new CEO, and there's some people who are saying, well, they were hoping that the new CEO is going to come in with these great new ideas. Well, it seems like he came out with a new idea, and the market didn't like it. I guess it's not funny if you're a holder of PayPal, but it's odd that the stock went down when they're talking about AI.
Yeah, you're not wrong typically right here, Rob, but there is an exception here. You would want to call out, I mean, and even our backhand producer here, Ryan, mentioned that IBM yesterday. We talked about this on the show with Mike yesterday, but they mentioned AI and their stock shot up, just like you're talking about. But what we're looking at here with PayPal is they overhyped. They're already a technology company who's already tried to integrate crypto into their payment processing system, which is already a type of metaverse play. And so far, that's been kind of a nothing burger. And we can kind of look back at what happened last time when they tried to integrate crypto. We've seen kind of a downward spiral since then because they failed, in my opinion. And then with Elon coming out with X payments 2 days, 3 days, 4 days ago, or whatever, prior to them trying to switch gears and do this 180, saying they have something that's gonna shock the world, and then them saying, oh, AI algorithms, so that you can do one-click shopping or make it so you don't lose customers at the shopping cart. It's like, you know what? Other companies are doing this already, and they didn't even announce it. Like, it was basically the most worthless announcement you could have given, in my opinion. And I see this as an epic fail for PayPal, unfortunately. And I think they deserve what they got as far as stock price goes. But that's
But
personal opinion, maybe.
well, no, the market's with you. I mean, the market viewed it the
Yeah.
exact same way. So, yeah, no, I think you're spot on with the market's disappointment in what they announced. No question.
Yeah. Well,
The
let's do
other
this.
thing
Let's
is
shift
that
gears a little. Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to add one thing here. As I added, the earnings date on PayPal is coming up, and I wonder if now this is just pure speculation, but um, that was an announcement that they thought would carry weight. But I wonder, did they try to sneak that out in front of earnings, like they're spending a lot of money, and maybe the earnings is going to be slightly disappointed, and they tried to put a positive spin on it by saying, we're spending all this money on this new technology stuff. And then that's going to be a hit to the bottom line. And so, they kind of slide secretly slide in an earnings warning there, and I think the market is maybe seeing through that. But your comments are spot on there. But it will be interesting to hear the PayPal earnings conference call when that comes out. Anyway, enough of PayPal.
Dude, I'm with you. Let's go ahead and switch gears. We got a couple comments in the chat, and if you guys have a symbol you want Rob to take a look at, we can hit a couple of those before we wrap up today. This one is something I think top of mind for everybody, as it has been the last couple of weeks. Let's hit AMD, Rob, and see what that's looking like.
Oh man, you hit a sore spot with me. We had an alert on AMD over at evotrader.com. It was a great trade, about a 50% gain, I think, if I remember correctly. But we took it off back here, right in this area, after this big breakout move. And as you can see, it's continued higher. So it's one of those Monday morning quarterback things where you look back and say, gee, I wish you would have held it longer. But one of the things that I state always to our subscribers at evotrader.com is that, hey, if you take a trade off and you're happy with the gain when you take it off, you can't go back and second guess yourself. Otherwise, you'll drive yourself nuts in the world of trading. But, you do look back at it and you try to learn from these things. And, AMD has just continued to power higher. But we did have a great trade on it. But, gosh, that's getting a bit vertical for me now, Brandon. I don't like stuff that goes vertical. People that have been watching knows that's one of my things that makes me nervous when stocks take off and go vertically like that. We were having this nice 45-degree angle run. That's the ideal scenario. And if people are wondering, well, what's the difference? The stock's still going higher. Well, when you run in a 45-degree angle, the corrective moves, and we all know markets move and impulses and corrections, that's the crux of value wave. But then when things start to go vertical, they oftentimes come vertically back down. So I think we're kind of priced for perfection with that earnings report coming up on AMD. So we'll see, can they deliver something to even hold court with where we are, or kind of propel it higher, or is all the good news baked in and we'll have a little bit of a buy the rumor, sell the news thing here on AMD. So I'm a little nervous about that vertical part of the move there.
Yeah, I'm looking at that as well. And the only AMD is kind of interesting because I think it's going to try to catch NVIDIA, and it's going to try to see. NVIDIA obviously crushing the market. The unicorn in the tropics is what it is right now, and everybody's watching NVIDIA, and so AMD trying to follow suit. And if it can be a player in the AI space with their chips, if they can come out with something innovative to help participate in that race, I think it could start to bite into what NVIDIA is doing and potentially still move higher, which is shocking to say. But obviously, I don't like a move that vertical either, and that's where we're stuck, right? So,
yeah. Well, you're spot on the commentary there, and of course, Intel is getting left in the dust, right? Ugly day for Intel. Right?
Wait, who's Intel, Rob? I haven't heard of Intel.
They've been thrashed on the financial networks this morning. Based on their earnings report. And so, it's always been Intel was big brother and AMD was little brother. Well, I think AMD has bowed up and said, yeah, we'll show you. And you're right. They're chasing NVIDIA now, and they've left Intel in the dust. So maybe a little bit of pullback, maybe some consolidation. I don't think if I was long AMD, I'd get out. I think the long-term story, as you said, is a positive one. It's just the short-term move is a little vertical for me. That's all.
Yeah, I get that. Let's try something else. Let's hit up Amazon. We had a little comment about Amazon. What's going on over there?
Good call, because we haven't looked at Amazon in a while. And, they have earnings coming up too. Nice move here. Nice little zigzag pattern moving to the upside here. And there hasn't been from Amazon a ton of commentary about the holiday season. I think people have viewed that, at least on, you were talking about economic news at the beginning, the GDP report was hotter than expected. The PCE deflator that came out today showed that, inflation is calming down, which is one of the Fed's big inflation gauges. And I really think that the economic data with a strong GDP showing the consumer spending more than expected, inflation pressures coming down, I don't see where this whole Fed cut in March is going to happen. Now people are moving it out to April and May. I even saw some people calling for May today. I've never thought the Fed was going to cut in March. But I'm going to be really interested to see Amazon's earnings and what they say about that holiday quarter and the strength of the consumer. It seems like that quarter was good, but the debt at some point, Brandon, I wanted to mention this real quickly, is on Tuesday. We had 5-year notes, and Rick Santelli on CNBC is somebody that he's one of the few people that I'll turn, like the market's on right now on the TV, but the volume's off. And it's not just because we're doing this live show. I keep it off because I can't stand to listen to most of the commentary. But when he comes on, I listen to it. And the bid to cover was 2.31 on 5-year notes that were issued. And that was the lowest bid to cover since 1968. So basically what it's saying is that people are around the world are less interested in taking on our debt. And at some point in time, that might come to roost. So I think, you mentioning the debt is something that we all need to keep an eye on. And so, yeah, that'll play into how deeply did we go into debt in this holiday season, and how much more can the consumer go? I don't know.
Yeah, we're in an interesting spot here, and I've been hearing the same things that you've been hearing. You mentioned this about the them cutting the rates in March. I think we were sitting at about an 80% chance of them cutting the rates in March, and now last I seen as of like yesterday, it was like 45% chance or something like that. It's
You're
fallen
correct.
so far.
Yep.
Yeah, I just don't think it's going to happen. I'm with you. I don't think it's going to happen. That 45% is going to move to 1% really quickly, and I just don't think they can cut rates in this environment. And the market might not like that, but they know it's happening. So that's what frustrates me, is they're going to wait until March when they actually come out and say it, and then the market's going to get crushed that day, even though they know it's happening. And so it's a strange situation we're sitting in. So
you're right. Agree with you 100%.
Okay. Well, Rob, if there's anything else you want to hit, I think we're out of stock symbols right now. We have a couple minutes left. Is there anything else that you're seeing in the market that you want to touch on right now before we wrap this up for the week, Rob?
Well, I can't let you go without your opinion on Bitcoin. It's having a better day today, but a pretty good correction here, almost down to the 50% level. It's holding 40,000, or at least trying to. I know we talked a lot about this last week, so we don't need to have a long conversation, but I was just curious in your mind if anything has changed in this week, or if you feel like this is just a bit of a correction from that, still part of the sell the news event with all the Bitcoin ETFs that came out, and maybe we're getting ready to turn and run back higher. It kind of feels that way today. I just wanted your opinion.
There's more at play here than you can kind of see in the chart. Right now, what's been happening is we did say that it was going to be kind of a sell the news event, and what happened over the last week, Grayscale, who had been accumulating over the entire bear market, they've been buying Bitcoin about 6, 7, 8, 9,000. Once they got the ETF approved, they were able to sell that Bitcoin. So over the last week, they've obviously dumped 4.5 billion B with a B. Yep, that's B with a B. $1 billion worth of Bitcoin into the market,
Right.
Moving Bitcoin every single day over to Coinbase and absolutely dumping that on the market. Now that's been eaten up by a lot of the ETFs. We're talking BlackRock, Fidelity. They've been buying that, but to absorb that big of a sell is extraordinary. And so we've seen a little bit of a dip. I mean, it wicked up to 49,000 there, but really it was sitting about 44,000 before the selling started. I think it got down about 38 on the low side of that thing. And now it's moving back up for a couple of reasons. One, FTX was the biggest component and biggest seller of those Grayscale shares over the last week. They sold $22 million worth of Grayscale shares, forcing Grayscale in turn to liquidate their Bitcoin, because now they have to stay on a spot Bitcoin situation and keep an equivalent amount of Bitcoin on their books. forcing them to sell those shares. FTX is now done selling as of 2.5 days ago. And today we noticed that a little bit because Grayscale finally dumped way less today than they've been dumping over the last week. So if we can see that trend continue, Bitcoin will push higher. There's just nothing there to stop the green air above for Bitcoin, in my opinion. But if the sell pressure continues from these, what's that?
I was just going to say that was a pretty good pearl of wisdom there that I wasn't aware of on the whole FTX connection there. I kind of thought, and I think a lot of people did, that was already over with. So that was good information for me. And I wanted to give you kudos because you did kind of call the sell the news event on Bitcoin with these ETFs. I think a lot of people thought the stock would rocket to 50,000 immediately with people buying them for the ETFs, and you were on that with the thinking there was going to be a sell the news event. So kudos to you on that one. Always love hearing your comments on Bitcoin and the cryptos, Brandon.
Yeah, I think it's one last thing. I think people just didn't really know. I mean, that Grayscale was the biggest one that was hindered from selling any of they were deep in the profit on a lot of their Bitcoin purchases during this bear market. They were buying at about 50-60% of actual market price during the bear market. So being that much in profit, they were just waiting to sell and hopefully liquidate some of this stuff. And FTX was also held back by handcuffs from the government, being able to liquidate and hopefully get some of their returns back to these people that lost all this money. So that was inevitable to happen. I didn't know the amount that it was going to happen, but obviously it's happened now. The next 3 to 4 weeks are going to be very interesting to watch. So maybe we'll touch base again on this next week and see where we're headed. So this will be interesting.
Sounds great.
Well, Rob, it's that time. I really appreciate your commentary. The market is doing some crazy stuff. Busy earnings weeks. But it'll be interesting to watch this as we lead up into March, maybe lead up into whatever the Fed's going to do, and watch this earnings season as it continues to play out. There's going to be a lot more things, I think, that are going to ripple the market here and there. And I don't know. I think we're approaching all-time highs, and we're going to have to listen and see what you say as far as when we're going to make that turn and maybe pull back just a little bit to refuel for the next uptrend. But this will be fun to watch. Rob, as always, thank you. And if you guys are watching right now, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and go ahead and we'll see you next week here on the channel.
Always a pleasure, Brandon. Thank you.